And you'll sit outside on these little plastic stools, and I'll go inside and I'll order the food, and it's the only dish they serve in this restaurant. It's eel.
Yeah.
So now we think, okie dokie, here comes the first test. So now you have this picture of eel, these long slimy snakes. So we think, okay, well the rule is you've got to taste it. So we sit down, he comes and he's got a tray, and he's got 4 bowls, and he hands us each a bowl, and we look inside and we don't see any slimy snakes. It's all chopped up fine, it's like a soup, chopped up herbs and things, and we tasted it and it was absolutely fantastic. And we carried on and we tasted some really interesting stuff, and what we did tell him was that we didn't want to eat dog. He says, no. Dog is a special thing, and you only have it at special times of the year. We don't, and it's very, very expensive. So we won't be doing that. So that was cool. Anyway, so we spent the next 4 or 5 hours experiencing things that I would never have experienced otherwise. But I tell that story because I'm going to be sharing stuff with you, and some of it you might like. Some of you might really think it really makes sense. And some of you might think, this guy is talking absolute nonsense. This is actually makes no sense whatsoever. It's your choice. I have one request. You got to taste it. You must listen. And if you like it, we can spend all night talking about it. If we're not, well, that's okay. We'll move on. All right. And the other thing is, at the ripe old age of 60, I've realized that I don't deal with rejection very well. If you all are on your phones and all, then I struggle. So at least look interested, even though you may not. All right, so
my phone is on silent.
yeah, phone's on silent. Yeah. Okay, so Caroline spoke in the little introduction about me facilitating what we call a personal visioning process. And I experienced that 20 years ago, which in hindsight, and not at the time, but in hindsight was a very, very significant 2 days in my life. Because amongst other things, it prompted me to go back to university, albeit 3 years later. So I was a student studying a master's in systems thinking at age 43, 44, when all my mates were enjoying life. I was a student. But as a consequence, it took me into a place that I would never have otherwise have gone, because I had some confidence. I started to understand who I was and what I was about, as opposed to what I had been, just kind of living life on the treadmill, doing stuff that we all do, earning money, paying bills, educating kids, paying off the house, that sort of stuff. So I started to question why I was on this earth. And subsequent to that, I facilitated that personal visioning process that Caroline mentioned for about 200, 250 odd people over the last 7, 8, 9 years. But the more I've done it, and the more I've thought about it and reflected, the key to it is all about knowing who we are. We have dreams, we have hopes, we have aspirations, we might even frame it as a vision, but the real secret is to have a deep sense of understanding self and knowing what it is that is maybe not unique, but what's special to us, because that's our ticket, or that's the key to a life that we can be proud of. So what I thought I'd speak about this evening is, as part of the visioning process, really focus on this notion of self-identity. Who really am I? So what's evolved over time is a model that I've developed, and it looks very simple. It looks like that. But my whole story, in a way, goes back to a paragraph that I read in a book, which many of you might have read. It's called Good to Great. It was a big sort of hit in its day, and I think it's still very relevant. But it's the last paragraph in the book, and I can't promise that I read the book. I probably skimmed it and read the last paragraph. But it read like this, or it reads like this: for in the end, it is impossible to have had a great life unless it is a meaningful life. And it is very difficult to have a great life. Well, it's very difficult to have it's very difficult to have a meaningful life without meaningful work. Let me repeat that. For in the end, it is impossible to have a great life unless it is a meaningful life. And it is very difficult to have a meaningful life without meaningful work. Think about it. We spent 40 years there, by and large. Is it working for us, or is it just a job? The paragraph goes on to say, perhaps then you might gain that rare tranquility that comes from knowing that you have had a hand in creating something of intrinsic excellence that makes a contribution. Indeed, you might even gain that deepest of all satisfactions, knowing that your short time here on this earth has been well spent and that it mattered. So that paragraph literally burnt a hole in my head. And if I go back, I think possibly gave me this a bit courage, but started to, was the work that I was doing, was it the vehicle for me to achieve my ultimate destination of having lived a meaningful life? And at the end of the day, what's it all about? What footprint would I have left? Because we probably all leave footprints. Some of us might be very proud of those footprints, some of us might not be. So it was with that kind of wisdom, if you like, that led to the development of this picture here. And the metaphor that I use for a lot of the work that I do, and it's the metaphor of journey. That life is a journey. It starts